Tomorrow morning, when you pull into a petrol station, do one thing. Look up at the price board. Then drive to the next station and the next. What do you notice? Most of the time, it's basically the same. Maybe a penny here, a cent there. But across brands, big oil names, supermarket forecourts, independents, everything looks strangely aligned. Now here's the question. If this is a free market, why doesn't it look like one? Because in a real free market, prices spread out. Someone undercuts to steal customers. Someone charges more and sells premium trust. Different players, different strategies, different numbers. But when pricing keeps moving together, almost in sync, what you're calling competition might not be competition. It might be a system. A cartel-like behavior without a cartel meeting. A market that looks open but acts consolidated. A structure where the real game is happening above your head. And the scary part? This isn't new. This playbook is 150 years old. You've already seen it in your lifetime. Remember how telecom markets changed forever with aggressive offers? In the US, big promotions, unlimited plans, bundling, price moves that forced weaker players to either merge or disappear. And the biggest moment, when the market went from 4 national carriers to 3. In the UK, you've watched consolidation too. The big networks keep clustering into fewer giants, while smaller brands survive by renting access from them. And when markets consolidate, something happens. It gets harder to escape. It gets harder to choose. And it gets easier for the system to extract money from you quietly. So let's be clear. Those free or too good to be true offers, they're not kindness, they're strategy. Because in many industries, the goal isn't to win customers. The goal is to kill competition. And you're not the customer in that war. You're the weapon. This move, attack with low prices, bleed rivals, then rule the market, was perfected by one man. His name was John D. Rockefeller. Most people remember Rockefeller as the richest man in history. Depending on how you measure it, his wealth in today's terms can be hundreds of billions. But money isn't his real legacy. His real legacy is the system he built, the method he invented, a method that still runs the modern economy. Amazon uses it. Google uses it. Oil giants use it. Telecom giants use it. Banks use it. Pharma uses it. You live inside this system every day, and most people don't even realize it. Today, I'm going to show you that system, how Rockefeller built it, how he destroyed competitors, how his company got broken up, yet he became even more powerful, and how, more than a century later, the same machinery still shapes your choices. Because understanding this system isn't academic, it's survival. Let's begin. John Davidson Rockefeller was born on July 8, 1839 in New York State. His father was a traveling salesman and a con man, selling miracle cures. His mother was deeply religious, strict, moral, disciplined. Think about that combination. From the father, ruthlessness, manipulation, street intelligence. From the mother, moral certainty. Rockefeller didn't just crush competitors. He believed he was doing God's work by organizing industry. And that's what made him dangerous. When a man believes he is morally chosen, he can justify anything. In 1859, oil was discovered in Pennsylvania.
An oil rush began. Thousands ran to drill wells. Some became rich overnight. Most got destroyed. Boom and bust. Chaos. Rockefeller was 20 years old, working as a bookkeeper in Cleveland. He looked at the oil rush, and he saw something different. Everyone else saw money in drilling. Rockefeller saw drilling as gambling, luck-dependent, high risk. But he noticed something else. No matter who drilled, they all needed refining. Crude oil had to be processed into kerosene, the fuel people used to light their homes. And that meant refineries made money whether drillers won or lost. So in the 1860s, Rockefeller moved into refining. He built scale fast. But in Cleveland, there were dozens of refineries. Competition was brutal. Prices fell. Margins collapsed. And then Rockefeller made the decision that changed business history. Instead of fighting competition, he would eliminate it. And he did it using a method that still sits under every big monopoly: vertical integration. In simple language, control every step of your supply chain. Don't depend on outsiders. Own the pipes, own the transport, own the storage, own distribution. Imagine you sell coffee. If you buy beans, cups, milk, machines, packaging, then all those margins become yours. That's what Rockefeller did. Other refiners only refined. Rockefeller bought the barrel makers. He controlled storage. He controlled transportation. He built distribution networks. And then he made secret deals with the railroads, deals that lowered his transport cost and punished rivals. Now he could sell kerosene cheaper than anyone, even cheaper than cost, and still survive. Competitors couldn't. This wasn't smart. This was predatory. A hunter strategy. Use scale and special access to bleed rivals dry. In 1870, Rockefeller formally created Standard Oil. At first, it was only a small share nationally. But Rockefeller wasn't trying to be a player. He was trying to be the game. So he launched Phase 2, horizontal integration. If vertical integration is owning the supply chain, horizontal integration is owning or destroying everyone at your level. In the early 1870s, Rockefeller did what historians call the Cleveland Massacre. He visited refinery owners one by one. He offered, "Sell to me, take a fair price." Sometimes he even kept them as managers. But if they refused, he started a price war. He flooded the market with cheap kerosene until rivals bled losses on every sale. Then they had only two choices: sell to Rockefeller or go bankrupt. Most sold. A few fought. All lost. And within months, he controlled almost the entire refining capacity of Cleveland. This was the blueprint. 1. Offer to buy. 2. If they refuse, economically destroy them. Then buy the wreckage. This playbook didn't die with Rockefeller. It became the default strategy of monopoly building. By the late 1870s and 1880s, Standard Oil's share exploded. City by city, the same tactics: lower costs through vertical control, rail advantages, and ruthless price wars. Eventually, Standard Oil controlled the overwhelming majority of U.S. refining. At that point, it wasn't a business, it was a monopoly. And monopolies have two problems. Problem 1, governments can break you up. Problem 2, the public hates you. And hate can become power. Rockefeller was called a robber baron. He was one of the most hated men in America. So he needed a solution to both problems. In 1882, his lawyers invented something that changed corporate America forever: the Standard Oil Trust. Here's what it meant. Back then, different states had different corporate laws. A company in one state couldn't easily own companies in other states, so Rockefeller created a trust structure. Dozens of separate companies existed on paper, but their shares were pooled under a single controlling body. Different names, one command. Many companies, one owner. This became the model for modern holding companies. A holding company doesn't need to make anything. It just owns the companies that do. Look around today. Alphabet owns Google, YouTube, and many more. Meta owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Huge finance groups operate through layered holding structures. Energy groups split assets across entities. This isn't accidental. This is Rockefeller's architecture, reborn. By the early 1900s, Standard Oil was at peak dominance. Then came
Rockefeller still owned shares across the pieces. So when Standard Oil became multiple giants, he didn't lose the system. He multiplied it. And over time, many of those separate companies remerged or reconsolidated through history. The system broke itself to survive law, then slowly rebuilt itself. But Rockefeller's biggest legacy still wasn't Standard Oil. It was the next chapter, philanthropy. In 1913, Rockefeller created the Rockefeller Foundation. He poured massive money into health, universities, research, public programs. From the outside, it looks like pure charity. But deeper down, philanthropy can do three things. 1. It can reduce tax burden compared to handing money to the state. 2. It can turn a villain into a hero in public memory. 3. It can influence what gets researched, taught, funded, prioritized. This model didn't stop with Rockefeller. Modern billionaires use the same blueprint: foundations, endowments, initiatives, giving pledges. Some of it is genuine good. Some of it is strategic power. And often it's both at the same time. Now let's bring this system into today, UK and US, right now. Look at Amazon. Amazon didn't just build a store. It built an empire that controls the pipeline: warehouses, logistics, delivery, payments, subscriptions, devices. And the most powerful part? AWS, cloud infrastructure. Meaning, a huge part of the internet runs on Amazon's computers. Even businesses that compete with Amazon often rely on Amazon's infrastructure. That's vertical integration in the digital age. Rockefeller controlled refining plus rail plus distribution. Amazon controls retail plus logistics plus cloud. Same method, new era. Now look at Google. Google dominates search in many parts of the world. And the genius of it? It feels free. You don't pay money, but you pay with data: what you search, where you go, what you watch, what you buy. You become the product. Your attention becomes the currency. A monopoly so complete that many people don't even feel the cost. Now look at pharma. Who approves drugs in the US? The FDA. And the FDA is partly funded by user fees paid by the industry it regulates. That doesn't automatically mean corruption, but it creates a structural reality. Regulators and industries can become interdependent, and powerful industries can shape rules, timelines, standards, and policy direction. That is regulatory capture, modern version. Now look at banks. The biggest banks operate as complex holding groups, layers of entities, different subsidiaries, different regulators, different rules. And after 2008, reforms tried to make the system safer. But complexity itself becomes a shield, harder to regulate, harder to break, harder to punish. This is why the Rockefeller trust idea matters.
When you make the structure complicated enough, you become harder to kill. Now come back to fuel pricing. You might feel like you choose where to fill up, but in many places you don't feel a real difference. And when competition weakens, prices can rise quietly, not through a dramatic cartel meeting, but through coordinated behavior, fewer rivals, and market structure. Now step back and look at your life. Fuel, telecom, online shopping, search, banking, healthcare. Try to avoid them. You can't. If you don't buy fuel, how do you commute? If you don't use the big telecom networks, what's your alternative? If you avoid Amazon, you lose convenience and price pressure. If you avoid Google, you fight the default. If you avoid banks, how do you live in a credit economy? If you avoid medicine, you gamble with your health. Every road leads back to the system, and the system extracts value from you daily. So what can you do? There are 3 paths. Path 1, accept it. Use the convenience, use the speed, use the cheap prices, live your life. But that is surrender. Path 2, fight it. Buy from local, choose smaller alternatives even if they're worse. Push policy, support tougher competition enforcement. It's noble, but it's exhausting, and often the system outlasts you. Path 3, understand it and position yourself. If you can't escape the system, learn how it works and build your life with the system in mind. Because the biggest shift is this: stop thinking as a consumer only. Start thinking as a participant. This is not financial advice. I'm not telling you what to buy. I'm telling you what to see. How power concentrates, how markets consolidate, how structures repeat. Rockefeller famously said, "Competition is a sin." Most people think he meant greed, but he meant it religiously. He believed competition was waste. 2 people doing the same work, profit duplicated, efficiency lost. He believed consolidation was the natural end state of markets. And 150 years later, we live inside the world he designed. But now you have something most people don't: awareness. You can see the pattern. You can recognize the playbook. You can spot the structure behind the price. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If this video showed you something you never noticed before, if you now understand that the corporate structures shaping your daily life were engineered long ago, then comment below. Tell me what part hit you hardest. And subscribe, because this is only the beginning. Understanding the system is step 1. Learning to live intelligently inside it, that's step 2.